Hello, everybody, and welcome to Fun List Friday here at Eat Sleep List. My name is Matt Johnson, your host, and today we're going to be talking about that little extra magic that makes watching sports so much fun. The bitterness, the trash talk, and everything else that really spices up the sports viewing experience. We're talking sports rivalries today. Let's make a list. So just this past Monday, while discussing peaceful locations, I definitely wanted to bring forward and discuss how much I dislike drama. I dislike being involved in it. I dislike being around it. It is a disturber of my peace, and I can't stand it. I cannot stand it, and I avoid it at all costs. However, in the world of entertainment, it is one of the most attractive elements that you can possibly have. People love drama. People gravitate towards drama. We watch TV shows all the time where there is nonstop drama, and it's what keeps us coming back episode after episode after episode, season after season after season. There's some element of drama that hooks us, taps into the human emotion, and makes us want to watch over and over and over again. Rivalries are defined by drama. Okay, I'm going to list some very briefly, but non-sports related drama rivalries that have been important to myself and have been attractive, are super popular, and have people feeling some type of way when it comes to them. All right, pro wrestling. I will never, even though I've done it, even though many people like to call it a sport, it is sports entertainment. I will not define it as a real true sport because it isn't. It just isn't. But back in the 90s, WWF and WCW was the be-all, end-all rivalry. All right, here, the WWF, it's been established for a long time. They have Monday Night Raw. They have a time slot. They've had it since 1993. WCW starts a little bit of a turnover. All right, they left the NWA in recent years. They've rebranded and really gone all in on the brand of WCW. And they decide if they're going to make some noise, if they're going to make some impact, they're going to go head-to-head with WWF on Monday nights, calling it Monday Nitro. And this became one of the most talked about feuds of all time, bigger than any pro wrestling storyline, but going head to head, the same time slot relatively, with their own wrestlers and wrestlers jumping ship, going to the other promotion. It was the biggest deal, and all of a sudden ratings were the biggest thing. All right, one of the most famous things is that WCW beat WWF for 83 straight weeks on Monday nights. And what it ended up doing was forcing the WWF to make changes, to adapt into this new style of professional wrestling storytelling and action. And they did. They eventually triumphed and purchased WCW at the beginning of 2001. All right, your wrestling fans were hooked. And for many people, that was the last time they were interested in professional wrestling, was the ability to flip between two channels and pick a side. I'm not a music guy, but one thing that I'm constantly overhearing is the feud between Drake and Kendrick Lamar. All right, nonstop, back and forth, diss albums, so on and so forth. Again, I don't have any personal attachment to either of these people. You hear about musicians feuding all the time, but it adds extra interest in whatever these entertainers have to say. Okay, Drake's dropping a diss album. How is Kendrick Lamar going to reply to this? And it goes on and on and on. There's a lot of big time drama that comes with it. Back in the 90s, was the East Coast versus West Coast when it came to rap. That was a big feud element, kind of drama that enhanced the music scene. And Drake versus Kendrick Lamar, no matter what side you take on this feud, it enhances the music listening experience between these two. It's not like a direct feud, at least I don't think it is much anymore. But Marvel versus DC, all right, it's a friendly competition. All right, we gravitate towards what we like. All right, if you like certain Marvel characters, yeah, you think the Marvel side of things is much better. If you prefer DC characters, you think that the DC side is better. And there is almost nothing that the other side can do to convince you that their side is better. And that is the fun of being a comic book or comic book movie fan, especially in this day and age, of liking that. It's extra interest in those characters. About 15 years ago, something like that, maybe a little bit longer, there was a late night show feud. All right, Conan O'Brien was supposed to take over for Jay Leno on the Tonight Show, if I'm not mistaken. And Jay Leno was going to retire or go do something else, and ended up Jay Leno reneged on it and eventually phased Conan O'Brien out, and it became this big drama where every single late night talk show host was discussing this feud, and it was just dominating the storylines. You picked a side, basically. And the last one that interests me is video games. Okay, the 90s were dominated with especially the early 90s, the Sega and Nintendo feud. All right, Sonic the Hedgehog and Sega going with the line Sega does what Nintendo don't. And there was a back and forth kind of feud between the two companies. I don't know how malicious it was intended to be, but that feud helped put Sega and Sonic the Hedgehog on the map and made them a competitive brand for a certain period of time. And actually for a little while, Sega Genesis was winning. Then the late 90s, Crash Bandicoot and the PS1, the PlayStation emerged. All right, there's the videos of Crash Bandicoot outside Nintendo headquarters. I don't know if it's actually Nintendo headquarters, but calling out Mario, and just fun little stuff like that. And these feuds, no matter how serious they are, or intended to be, if they're serious or not, is basically what I'm trying to say. It adds extra level of intrigue to these feuds. But sports rivalries, feuds, drama cannot be touched by any of these things. Well, you can pick a side for everything that I just listed. Drake versus Kendrick Lamar, WWF versus WCW, Marvel versus DC, video game consoles, or whatever it may be. Sports rivalries play out in real time. All right, it is the best part of watching sports, is watching a rivalry unfold before your very eyes. I thoroughly enjoy rivalry games, like in-division rivalry games between teams, because no matter how bad teams are, pride is what drives them, right? Two teams can be fighting for last place. They want a higher draft pick. They might be tanking in some cases, but pride and ego will prevent them from being anything less. Like, there's such a great thrill in beating a team in division. There's a pride as a fan, right? If you're a fan of a team and you beat an in-division team, there's a level of pride and bragging rights that comes with it. If you're an athlete, which I'm sure many people who watch some of these videos have been at some point in their life, there's a certain level of pride when facing off against an opponent. All right, in high school, I went to Niagara Falls High School. Our main rival school was Niagara Wheatfield, and our wrestling team, when I was there, never beat Niagara Wheatfield. It stunk. It actually really stunk that we never got to do it because they were just so damn talented. But actually, they kind of won in a lot of the other sports as well. Maybe aside from basketball, maybe we had their number in basketball, but that might have been it. But there was extra emphasis in school pride when it came to any athletic competition against Niagara Wheatfield. All right, you feel it. You don't want to be on the wrong end of it, right? You don't want to be on the losing side of a feud, a rivalry. You never want to feel that way because it can certainly sting. But the best part about sports rivalries, again, aside from that it's played on the field, is that every matchup, every game, every competition between two individuals or two teams, it just adds to the story. It just adds to the legacy of this feud, this rivalry. It adds fuel to the fire. All right. Yeah, sure. You may have won the last time, and you can have bragging rights for the time being, but now there's a certain edge that we have. All right. We got to get this win back, and I'm going to talk about some great ones today in our top 10 list. But it brings out the best. It brings out the best in athletes. It brings out the best in teams. Competition is great for everybody. Right, everybody all around. It iron sharpens iron, and competition just makes you want to succeed. It makes you want to be the best possible version of yourself, and that is what I love about sports rivalries. Is because that desire to be the best, it plays out in real time, in living color, in front of all those who watch it, and no excuses are made at the end of the day. All right, lessons from the list. I think the big one here is competition is great for everybody. Okay, we see monopolies on certain aspects of business, especially entertainment. Let's go to the NFL because obviously, again, that's my wheelhouse. That's my forte, bread and butter, so to speak. The NFL has dominated professional football for a very, very long time. And there's been some startup leagues that have challenged it a little bit. There's been the USFL, the AFL, I think World Football League, it might have been WFL. But back in the 70s, there was a league that started up that was paying people insane amounts of money. And The NFL has largely dominated, but it had to be challenged to grow into the version it is today. It is a global powerhouse, or at least slowly starting to become a global powerhouse. It's definitely a national powerhouse as far as influence and attention that it receives. But you see all these international games that they're playing over in Europe and other countries, South America now. It's just going to get bigger and bigger. But those rival promotions, the competition brought out the best in the NFL. All right, the AFL coming out in the 1960s forced a lot of changes in the National Football League as far as increasing player salaries, TV rights deals, which definitely enhanced the National Football League. In a nice small tidbit, the NFL didn't have names on the back of the jerseys first. The AFL actually did, and it eventually led to a better presentation, a better look and style of professional football that the NFL adopted. So, therefore, names on the back of jerseys became a regular thing. It also changed the way that the game was played. The AFL was a lot more pass-heavy and in high-octane, fun, exciting offense instead of ground-and-pound running, rushing attack, which had been kind of what the NFL was. It was a lot more old school. You need forward-thinking things to help advance the way things are played out. In pro wrestling currently, all right, the WWE is king, but there was a point 5-6 years ago where people were demanding a new alternative product, and that alternative product was All Elite Wrestling. And for a while, it was changing the game, and it forced WWE to look at themselves hard in the mirror and reconsider how they're going about their business. And they're ahead again. WWE is definitely ahead again. There's no doubt about it. But I don't want to see an AEW go away. No matter how bad I think the product personally is, I don't want to see it go away, because when there's no competition, you get comfortable. And when you get comfortable, you don't grow. And that's a lesson and metaphorical lesson, I guess, we can apply to ourselves. If we are not challenging ourselves, all right, if we're not competing with ourselves or somebody else, we're not getting better. We're just existing. We're not growing as people, and you're doing yourself a huge disservice. And now, I'm not saying go out and pick a fight with somebody, okay? Just don't start picking fights out with people. Don't start making personal attacks, because I've known plenty of people who've tried to do that with me. I just don't play that game. I'm not going into that rabbit hole. But being like, you could be inspired. Like, if there's somebody who is doing better than you at something that you are doing, all right? There's plenty of people who have much better YouTube channels than I will ever have. Especially here at this studio alone, I am in a friendly competition. I'm not malicious, but I want to challenge like that. I want to change the game. Like, there's Podcaster of the Month they have here, which I think is a great idea for this for Emerge Media Creators Co-op. And I am working my ass off to earn that. I don't want to be handed it. I am working my ass off to earn that nod, okay? Because I want to. It's going to make me better in the long run. And it's just better for you. So, simply put, lessons from the list: challenge yourself. Compete. Don't have to be a dickhead, but compete and grow as a person, no matter what it is. It could be your job. It could be your art. It could be whatever. It could be whatever. Your financial situation. It doesn't matter. Compete, grow, be better. All right. As I say every time before we make the list, do not hesitate. Please comment your top 10 for whatever topic we're talking about. All right. Today, sports rivalries. What are 10 sports rivalries that mean the most to you? It could be one that you're personally involved in if you are an athlete or a coach, or if you are a fan, consumer of entertainment, consumer of sports entertainment, sports media. Talk about that. All right. It's fun. It really is fun to think about these kind of things. I had a good time putting my list together because I had to think outside my bubble a little bit. I wanted to think outside of the football bubble because I could have just easily did 10 football rivalries, but that wouldn't be fun. I had to think deeply. I had to think, what feuds, rivalries in other sports has drawn my attention to them? Even if I don't watch these sports religiously, what has happened in these sports that has caught my attention, that has made me give this a shot, or just follow the news story, click on a news article, or watch a video and see how it plays out? That's how I went about this episode with this video, and I'm really hoping that you all comment and I can follow along. What that I can see where your head's at, what matters to you, because there are infinite amounts of sports rivalries. College football, or not just college football, but college sports in general has some incredible rivalries. Pro sports, high school level stuff. There's a lot of good things out there. So let's get to it. Again, make sure you comment or send an email, eatsleepblisspod@gmail.com. I will not put it out there, but it's always nice to have a little dialogue between people. But let's get to it. Here it is, my top 10 sports rivalries, my number 10. I'm going to start off with a local one. I'm going to go with the Buffalo Sabres and the Toronto Maple Leafs. I just did the NHL jersey list a couple weeks ago, and I've made it very clear that I'm not the biggest hockey fan, but I have attended a lot of hockey games in my lifetime. And for those who didn't see the video, football is number one as far as live sports events, games that I've attended, and hockey would definitely be number two, especially Sabres games around here, because they are relatively affordable and they're actually a good time no matter how good and bad the team is. But they're in the Eastern Conference Atlantic Division together, so that's always a plus. But the thing that has always intrigued me is that the relative location between the two rivals. I did touch on that NHL list about how the one Sabres versus Maple Leafs game that I went to, it was dominated by Maple Leafs fans. And there's a variety of reasons for that. One, because Maple Leafs tickets are so backed up as far as people trying to get on a list to buy tickets that it's just easier for people from Toronto to come on over here and watch these games. And I was just there. I was there. I was sitting in the arena, and it was the eeriest thing I've ever been a part of in a sporting atmosphere, okay? When you're going to a Sabres home game and legitimately 95% of the crowd are Maple Leafs fans. When, the Sabres are just getting dominated, torched, you hear the buzzer for Maple Leafs goals, and they're not doing the fun music that they do when the Sabres score. It's just the buzzer, and the whole crowd is just, going nuts, going wild. And because it's mostly an away team crowd. It got so bad here that, and this is a step, I think it's a bad step, but they're doing this in a lot of professional sports where they don't want tickets being sold to other teams' fans, which I think is I don't know. I think that's kind of silly, especially if your team is as bad as the Sabres are now and people just don't want to come watch your games. I would rather have a crowd full of other teams' fans paying to be at my venue, paying concessions, all that stuff, and instead of just a bunch of Sabres fans that are just fed up with the product and don't want to go. Like this Maple Leafs game that I went to several years ago, I have never seen that arena as full as it was. I don't think I ever have. And yeah, why would you not want that? I mean, I get it. You're trying to, I don't know, protect your brand, I guess, but put on a better product maybe. But regardless, Sabres and Maple Leafs, that is my number 10. I wanted to start off there with something that, I'm not diehard following, but I've been a part of at least once and know how intense it can certainly be. Number 9. This is a recent phenomenon, and legitimately the only reason I've had much interest in the WNBA is Caitlin Clark. I could say easily Caitlin Clark versus the WNBA, but I'm going to say Caitlin Clark versus Angel Reese. Both players coming out of college. I think the same year, maybe a year apart, if I'm not mistaken. I should have this information in front of me, but I think Angel Reese may have come out a year before Caitlin Clark did. And if I'm wrong on that, I apologize. But I love Caitlin Clark. I think she's a fantastic athlete. She is literally changing the game. She is bringing more eyes on the WNBA, no matter how much people want to deny it. And the people denying it are actually more so the people in the league, which is weird. But she is bringing extra eyes and attention on women's basketball. And the fact of the matter is that women's basketball, the WNBA, has been in the red. It has not gained, I don't think it's ever really been a profit-driven league. The NBA supports it, subsidizes it, I think is the correct phrasing for it. But now that Caitlin Clark is around, their crowds are full, or fuller than they were previously, and people are paying attention more on TV. It's literally statistically proven, time and time again, the attendance numbers and the viewership records when Caitlin Clark is playing somewhere versus not. And this is what drives me nuts about this feud, is that Caitlin Clark has done all of the right things. She has said all the right things. She has not shown any bit of ego. She has just gone and played basketball, and no matter what she has done, the hate is still pouring in and time out, time and time again. the hate is still just pouring in time and time again. And she just goes out there and plays basketball. Like, she's setting career records in her second season, at the beginning of her second season, that the WNBA has never seen before. And regardless of what you think about Angel Reese, all right, she is incredibly popular. There's a lot of memes and jokes about her basketball style, her rebounds, and whatnot. I don't have a say in it. I don't. These are the best female basketball players in the world, and they deserve credit for being there. But when you hear of a Caitlin Clark versus Angel Reese game, there's a lot of attention on it. There's reporters asking questions. There's tons of articles. And, at the end of the game, there's the highlight videos are usually watched, and people are waiting in the comment section. All right, there's all sorts of stuff and things. But people are attracted to the WNBA because this feud between these two people. And again, I could easily say Caitlin Clark versus the entire WNBA because she's had issues with Brittany Griner and several others. But Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark at the core of it. And it's really cool to watch. And I'm glad that women's sports, especially, women's basketball is starting to take center stage. All right, because it's really good. It's quality. It's not bad, like, stuff, and the tickets are really, really cheap. And that's the sad thing about it, is that even as low as the ticket prices have been for years, people are just still not showing up. But now there's a reason. People love Caitlin Clark. I love Caitlin Clark. I am excited for Caitlin Clark and the future of the WNBA. Just embrace it. Just embrace it. You can hate it all you want, but the facts are in the numbers, and just embrace it. It is what it is. So that is my number 9, Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. Number 8, going to the NBA now, and it's a classic rivalry, but one that when you hear about it, it makes people tune in. The Los Angeles Lakers and the Boston Celtics. All right, and I don't have much of a horse in this race, so to speak, but I do remember when they last played in the NBA Finals. I think it was like 2010, something around that time. I remember my dad saying, "This is really, really good for basketball," and he was right. He was certainly right, because basketball is like such a tricky sport to follow sometimes. We've talked about the load management stuff that goes on. It's a very long season. Like, it's a very, very long season. I think it starts in October and goes all the way to May. It's going on right now still. It's June. That's 8 months of playing, especially if you go all the way. And it can be tricky, but the Lakers and Celtics rivalry is paved the way. It helped really popularize the NBA as far as at a national level. There's always Magic and Larry Bird is always going to be one of the best interpersonal sports rivalries that ever was, and they both brought out the best in each other, both in college and in the pros. But there's been so many names that have passed through both these organizations since then, and when you hear Lakers versus Celtics, it is East Coast versus West Coast. And you want to watch. You want to see what plays out. But again, I don't really have a horse in this race, but to me, this is the ultimate rivalry, because to me, the NBA earned its status through the blood, sweat, and tears of Lakers versus Celtics for decades. So that's just my opinion. Obviously, I'm probably very wrong, but from the outside looking in, that's the way I perceive it. So that is my number 8, Lakers, Celtics. Number 7, I'm going to go with my only really Colts-based one here. Okay? There's another one that there's a level of Colts fandom in it, but not 100%. But I'm going to go Indianapolis Colts and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Okay. Yes, I don't know. It's tough because the Colts really don't have rivals. Like, they're in a division. It's like a hodgepodge of teams that just, these are the leftovers. This is what we got. Indianapolis is like north, and they're in this division with 3 other Southern teams. It just doesn't fit great at all. It's super weird. But Jacksonville, Indianapolis, and Jacksonville is a big-time rivalry. For those who don't know, Indianapolis has not won in Jacksonville or with Jacksonville as a home team, such as like in London. They have not won since 2000, I think before 2014, or 2014 might have been the last time. It's been 10 or 11 years at this point. And no matter how bad Jacksonville is, they defend their home turf really, really well. And it's become a running gag. In fact, 2021, they call it the Clown Town game, because I think the Jaguars had won 2 games at that point. And the Colts, all they had to do, they had a 99% chance to make the playoffs if they beat the Jaguars. They go down to Jacksonville. The entire fan base, because they're so tired of the Jaguars, are wearing clown noses to make fun of their team because it's Clown Town. And the Colts just played like crap. Like, they just fell apart. They did not, I don't even know if they led the entire game. And Jacksonville smoked them, and the Colts didn't go and didn't end up going to the playoffs that year. And Carson Wentz, the quarterback that they traded for, they ended up trading him after that season, just because how fed up they were with his awful play. And it kind of put the writing on the wall for Frank Reich, the head coach. His leash got really tight, and he wouldn't make it another full season after that. This is what I'm talking about, though, with sports rivalries, is that, again, there's so much pride on the line. Sure, the Jacksonville Jaguars could have rolled over in that game and whatever, tanked for a higher draft pick, but the pride was in winning, and winning against a divisional opponent. And not only that, but sabotaging their playoff chances. In a win-and-in scenario where there is a 99% chance that you're going to go to the playoffs, and you go to one of the worst teams in the NFL and choke the way that they did, that's tough. That's tough. And, Jacksonville takes great pride in that, I'm sure. And there's been years where they've swept the Colts. It is what it is. But the wonderful thing about the fact that Jacksonville has won at home for so many years is that it adds extra emphasis to those Colts-Jaguars games in Jacksonville or in London or wherever they play, where Jacksonville is recognized as the home team. And whenever, if ever, the day comes that the Colts defeat Jacksonville there, it's going to be a big moment. It's going to be talked about, and that is the beauty of division rivalries in sports. Nobody outside of Colts fans and Jaguars fans really give a care about this feud, because this rivalry, it's just, they're not good. Neither team is really that good. But it adds special flavor to it. So that is my number 7, Colts and Jaguars. Moving on to number 6 now. All right. My number 6, I am going to put, I was originally thinking about a team versus team one here, but I think it's a little bit better than that, because this rivalry has transcended teams. One gentleman has been on multiple teams over the years, and the other one has stayed consistent. And no matter where the other gentleman has been, the rivalry between these two teams has been the center of attention. So I'm going to go LeBron James versus Steph Curry in this one. And again, basketball, I'm not much of a basketball guy. I'm slowly starting to enjoy the product, especially with the Pacers doing as well as they have been, especially this year. But from the outside looking in, this is the LeBron James era. He's being heralded as one of the all-time greats. He has, he gets everybody loves the Jordan versus LeBron debate. But Steph has been really consistent. He's been on some great teams. There's no doubt about it. The likes of Draymond Green and Kevin Durant in Golden State and several other pieces. They've done a really good job of amassing a talented roster. But those LeBron James or the Cavs and Golden State Warriors championship games for like 4 years straight, and I think Golden State won 3 out of them. People looked forward to it. Golden State infamously blew a 3-1 lead against Cleveland. I think that was the only one of those 4 championship games that they ended up winning. But like Steph has been really good from the outside looking in the quote unquote LeBron James era. To the point where somebody like myself, and again, I recognize that LeBron James has been uber talented and is going to set a lot of records by the time, when it's all set. He already has set a lot of records when it's all said and done. But Steph Curry has been equally as talented, as good, in the world of the NBA in this LeBron James media-focused era. And even though Steph gets love, I don't know if he gets the proper amount. I really don't. That's my number 6, LeBron James, Steph Curry. Number 5, I'm going to go, this will be my last basketball one, and the Pacers and the Knicks. What a fun rivalry this has developed over the last couple years. I started watching the Pacers. I told you about in my NBA jersey list that I went in 2022 to watch the Pacers play for the first time, and it was a good time, really good time, and so I've lightly followed them over the years. And last year, they ended up facing off in the Eastern Conference semifinals, and the Pacers won that one. I can't remember if it was a sweep or not. It was either 4-0 or 4-1, but they handled them. And this year it was a hard hitting Eastern Conference final between the two teams. The Knicks had a pretty damn good year, and the Pacers equally. And the Pacers ended up winning this year as well. But as I'm watching this, you got the choke, right? The choke pose, and that dates back to the 2000s, if I'm not mistaken, 2000s, 90s. It's a fun rivalry, and seeing how intense it got between fans is eye-opening enough to know that there's something here with the Pacers and Knicks. Even though I've not been a part of it for very long, I'm relatively aware of the history between these two teams, and I think it's only going to continue as the Pacers continue to do well. The Knicks have, they just fired their head coach, but continue to put together an actually really good roster. So we'll see if that continues. But there's always going to be the spotlight on these two teams every time they play each other. So number 5, Pacers and Knicks. Number 4, I'm going to put the Yankees and Red Sox here. My only baseball entry. And I grew up in a Yankees household. It was a rite of passage. My dad, Yankees fan. My grandfather was a Yankees fan, so it just kind of carried on. And I've been to a couple Yankees games in my lifetime. Two or three. I think it's only been 2. But I've seen him play the Baltimore Orioles, and the other one was a very memorable sporting event, Sunday Night Baseball between the Yankees and Red Sox, 4th of July weekend. So much fun. Go out there. It's one of the hottest weekends in New York City history. And we got these seats where the sun is just directly on us. We're burning to a crisp. We're up there just enjoying it. And the Yankees spanked the Red Sox. It was very, very one-sided. But it was cool to be a part of that because, man, Yankees fans are wild. They are an absolute wild, very intense bunch that you would expect to see at a football tailgate. And that was just one game. Their history between these two teams goes way, way back. Everybody knows Babe Ruth. The story of Babe Ruth starting with the Red Sox and going, eventually getting shipped over to the Yankees. The curse of the Bambino that the Red Sox had for years. There was the when the Yankees blew it, I think they had a 3-1 game advantage over the Red Sox back in like 04, 05, and ended up choking. This is a rivalry that plays out quite frequently, and every game that I've ever seen is really intense. So, and just two very proud fan bases that are all about arguing, yelling. Good Lord, there's all sorts of fight. I was just watching the other day a fight video from years ago between Yankees and Red Sox. It was crazy. It was crazy. Some old dude got thrown. It was wild. It was wild. So that is my number 4, Yankees, Red Sox. My number 3 favorite, just so you know, it's going to be all football from here on out. My number 3 is going to be the Buffalo Bills and the Miami Dolphins. Growing up here in Buffalo, I grew up in growing up in the 90s. Buffalo and Miami were pretty much 1 and 2 in the AFC East. And there's just something special about it. In fact, if I remember the story correctly, I think Ralph Wilson wanted a team in Miami, but ended up having to settle for Buffalo. But obviously, he's a legend here, philanthropist and so on and so forth. But this is one of the exciting factors. When the division realignment happened in 2002, the Colts are geographically closer to the rest of the AFC East, the Bills, the Patriots, the Jets, than Miami was. But the pitch was that the Bills and Dolphins rivalry is so intense that they should be kept. And the Colts should be booted out, should be the odd man out. And that's what it was. But the Bills and Dolphins have had a lot of great battles over the years. Again, the 90s, most importantly, you get the Jim Kelly, Dan Marino. Oh, this 80s and 90s, I guess. But, Jim Kelly and Dan Marino coming out of the 83 draft class, adding to that. And even like in the 2000s when both teams were really down, right? They were not the Jim Kelly and Dan Marino led teams. They were fighting felt like last place in the division sometimes. It was still fun, intense. And even to this day, like Buffalo, like Josh Allen has pretty much owned Miami in his career. I think he's only lost twice since 2018 to them. But there's extra emphasis, eyes, and attention on that rivalry. All right, you got the nice, warm, nice, hot South Beach city of Miami, and depending on what time of the year you play Buffalo, snowy, cold, more at least. It's just different cultures, different lifestyles between the fan bases and the cities that they're a part of, and it makes for fun stuff. You get to see it twice a year, and yeah, it's some good stuff. And even though Miami's kind of been hit or miss over the last couple of years, there's been some really intense games, and a lot of emotion you get to see unfold in the field. So Miami and Buffalo, that is my number 3. My number 2 is between two players. All right, even though they're never on field at the same exact time, they are regarded as two of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, Peyton Manning and Tom Brady. I could have very easily put the Colts versus Patriots here if I was really being biased. I couldn't do that, though, because, to be perfectly honest, the Colts-Patriots feud has lost a lot of sizzle since Peyton left. I do not think that Andrew Luck ever defeated them. In fact, I still remember them getting destroyed in the 2014 AFC Championship game. Sucked so bad. The Deflategate thing was stupid as well. And then even post that, like nobody just could not beat the Tom Brady led Patriots. And like they played in Germany 2 years ago. Oh no, they actually played each other the last couple years. Like Anthony Richardson in last year had a game-winning drive. Like this defense was just trash, and it was just not good. They played in Germany a couple years ago, and it was horrible. I was glad that the game was done early. It was an early slot game, but oh my God, it was the most miserable football game I've ever sat through. Well, one of the most miserable football games I've ever sat through. I think I talked about in 2021 when my friend Brandon went to Indy to watch Colts and Patriots. It was a very important game for playoff stuff, and the Colts beating the Patriots that in that game was a big deal. It was quite a big deal in playoff standings. If they would have won out, they would have been good to go. But the Patriots ended up taking that playoff spot. The Patriots beating the Colts in 2022 ended up getting Frank Reich fired. And you can I guess you can kind of say that the Colts beating the Patriots in Germany in 2023 led to the downfall of Bill Belichick in New England. Because that's how just piss poor the game was. But all that aside, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady. It defined the AFC in the 2000s. I would definitely say that. They were always seemed to be meeting each other in the playoffs, with Tom and the Patriots more often than not coming through. In fact, the 2006 AFC Championship game was the only time that Peyton, as a Colt, would beat the Tom Brady-led Patriots squad. And it was a much better game than the Super Bowl, I will say that. It was a amazing moment in Lucas Oil Stadium when the Colts beat the Patriots in that. I loved it as a fan watching that. It was so much fun. But then Peyton left. Peyton got the boot in Indianapolis, and he went to Denver. And him and Tom Brady sparred plenty of times there. In fact, Peyton's last Super Bowl 50, they defeated a very banged up, beat up Patriots squad in the AFC Championship game. I think they only won like 20-19. It was something crazy close like that. But it just goes to show that age-old rivalry between these two, and they still trade barbs back and forth. They joke and such. It's a fun little feud, friendly feud. But yeah, in a decade where you have Ben Roethlisberger, Phillip Rivers, Eli Manning, Donovan McNabb. There's a lot of great quarterbacks in the 2000s and 2010s. These two were head and shoulders above everybody else. If Peyton and Tom Brady were squaring off on the same football field, obviously not at the same time, it was a masterclass in quarterbacking. It was a chess match, and it was must-watch television, prime time, just about every single time. So that is my number 2, Peyton Manning and Tom Brady. And my number 1, the best team feud, team rivalry I've ever witnessed, is the Pittsburgh Steelers and Baltimore Ravens. Testament that even when these teams are down, when these teams are not great, this is a blood feud. It is old school, physical, hard-hitting football. I feel like they let things go a little bit when it comes to the Ravens and Steelers playing. I just do. It's so refreshing to watch Pittsburgh and Baltimore square off in a football game. In fact, I'd really love to go to a game and just feel that energy, and watch these two teams square off. Like, there's been some amazing games over the years. And there's a lot of good stuff within the AFC North. I think Bengals and Ravens is always interesting, and Cleveland always plays pretty good. Cleveland and Baltimore is a really good one, especially knowing that, Baltimore now is the old Cleveland team. Just moved down there, but it's some of the best football. It is comparable to the NFC North, that old school division that they have. The Lions, Packers, Bears, Vikings that they all have, but Pittsburgh and Baltimore is just the best football. Must watch TV every single time. I remember they met in the AFC Championship game several years ago, probably about a decade ago. fun stuff to watch. A lot of great quarterback play. You got Big Ben and Joe Flacco. You've had Big Ben and Lamar, and so many other people in between. But legendary names. Ed Reed and Ray Lewis going up against Pittsburgh's offensive weapons, and Troy Polamalu and so many others going up against the offenses that the Ravens have put together. Mike Tomlin and Harbaugh. What a chess match that rivalry has had. And it is my favorite one. So there it is, everybody. My top 10 sports rivalries. Thank you so much for watching. Next week, we got some fun 4th of July festivities for both Mirrorless Monday and Funless Friday. Very America discussing stuff. I know it's a really tough time for a lot of people to discuss it, but I want to try and bring some cheer and look at some stuff through a little bit more positive glasses, and maybe uplift some people. I certainly hope so that I can do that. But as a history buff, it's an exciting time. As somebody who loves being around family and friends, and loves the spirit of the 4th of July. It's actually my favorite holiday. I hope that I can spread some meaning and joy with it. So that's what we're going to do next week. Everybody, thank you so much. I love and appreciate each and every one of you. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you on Monday. Till next time, do you even list?